Hey Briarwood Women, I'm Hannah Martin and I serve in the children's ministry at our church. And I wanted to share with you a few thoughts on the beloved Christmas carol, Silent Night. When I think of Silent Night, I think of that moment of the candlelight service when the whole congregation has our candles lit and we're passing the light and singing this sweet, precious song. A cappella is just a very dynamic moment. And when I think about the words silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, sleep in heavenly peace. These are just some of the words I wanted to focus on with you today. So all the years I've been singing this song, it was always my favorite. And I always thought, oh, just such peace and just a precious moment. It must have been for Mary and for Joseph. And then as I grew older as a wife and now mother, and I experienced childbirth on my own, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I don't know how it could have been so silent. When you have sweet Mary, who would have been going through the pains of childbirth, and then the noises of the animals in the stable making their normal animal noises, as well as sweet Joseph by her side, encouraging her and coaching her through this whole ordeal. And I questioned, was it really silent? Was it silence in that stable? Probably not. But for these two young people who were chosen by God to deliver the promised Messiah, they had a special job to do. And I dug a little deeper into the song, and the author was an Austrian priest named Joseph Mohr. And he was more so focusing on the humble entrance that the Savior of the world was making. Before he wrote the words, he was the one who wrote the words, the actual words. A separate man wrote the music to it. But Joseph Mohr had gone for a walk, and he looked out over a quiet winter-laden night in his town, and he was inspired to write these words. And I think about how Jesus, when he was born, it was, other than the census and it being a little crowded, it was just a normal night in Bethlehem. People were going about their business. The innkeeper was still running his inn. The shepherds were still out in the fields. There were so many just normal, typical things happening. Nothing was tipping anyone off that this couple, Mary and Joseph, saying that there was anything special about them and that there was anything special about who she was carrying in her womb. And it just seems that our precious and promised deliverer seemed to just slip into humanity uneventfully and, according to most everybody else around them, silently. And silence can be a really precious thing, something I have learned to appreciate. One night last week, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. It is Christmas time. We were preparing to finish up all the school activities and fun, and we were hosting family in town this past weekend, and it was just, I was restless, and I'm not usually a night owl, and I was laying there and so restless, and my mind was anything but silent. It was as though my thoughts were racing and just screaming at me about all the things that I needed to check off my list and needed to get done during this busy time. And these things are not bad things, they're good things. But when you stack them all together, it just felt crippling. And I knew the only answer in that moment was to feed myself truth with a capital T. And I was begging the Lord for that heavenly peace that we sing about in the song Silent Night. I was like, Lord, I just need the peace that only you can bring, that heavenly peace and the sleep. And he was gracious and answered me eventually. I made it through. And I have since crossed things off the to-do list, so that makes me breathe a little easier. But we as women, we constantly have a running to-do list. whether it's caring for a family or doing things at work or managing a household, so many things. It's as though I've also heard our brains being compared to a computer. And women's brains are full of tabs open across, and all of those tabs are running at the same time. And we are multitasking extraordinaires. We women are truly amazing creatures. But on the flip side, we can run ourselves ragged by overthinking, overcommitting, and overestimating we are capable of handling. And we need to run to our Savior. And my charge to you these last days before Christmas is to ask God to allow your boundary lines to be drawn to fall in pleasant places, as Psalm 16:6 says. And it says, "The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance." And I was reminded at 1 a.m. last week about that, and I continuously hear the Lord whispering, let me do it. Let me help you here. So my challenge and charge, once again, is to carve out silent moments, to be still and enable His heavenly peace to watch over you. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is my favorite verse. Some people call it a life verse, I guess, is Colossians 1:17. And it says, "He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together."